You walk into a room full of strangers. Within minutes, you feel safe. Within an hour, you belong. Within weeks, you cannot imagine life without them. This is not love. This is architecture. Close your eyes for a moment. Picture yourself at 7 years old. Someone tells you there is an invisible force watching everything you do, every thought, every secret, every moment you are alone. They tell you this force loves you. But if you disobey, there will be consequences. Not today, not tomorrow, but forever. This is your first lesson in surveillance. You learn quickly. The invisible watcher knows when you lie, knows when you doubt, knows when you question, so you stop questioning. Not because you understand, because fear lives deeper than understanding. Now open your eyes. You are no longer 7, but the watcher remains. Churches do not control minds through force. They do not need weapons or chains. They use something far more efficient. They use the architecture of belief, and once that architecture is built inside you, you become both the prisoner and the guard. Let me show you how the blueprint works. It begins with isolation dressed as community. You enter a space where everyone speaks the same language, uses the same phrases, shares the same fears. This feels like belonging, but belonging has a price. The price is conformity. And conformity starts with small things. The way you dress, the words you use, the questions you do not ask. You notice that certain topics create silence. Certain doubts are met with concern, not anger. Concern is more effective than anger. Concern makes you feel broken, makes you think the problem lives inside you, not inside the system. So you adjust. You smooth the edges of yourself. You learn which version of you is welcome, which version receives smiles. Which version receives love? This is not friendship. This is behavioral conditioning. Next comes the language of shame and salvation. Every effective control system needs 2 pillars: fear of punishment, hope of reward. Churches perfect this balance. They tell you that you are broken, born broken, fundamentally flawed. This is not cruelty. This is strategy. Because once you believe you are broken, you need someone to fix you. And they have the only cure, the only path, the only truth. You are handed a map, told it leads to salvation, but the map is written in their language, interpreted through their lens, and every road on that map leads back to the same place: obedience. They call it faith, but faith is simply obedience without evidence, and obedience without evidence is the foundation of control. Now watch what happens to your thoughts. You begin to police yourself. You catch doubts before they fully form. You silence questions before they reach your lips. You do this automatically, without conscious effort. This is the masterpiece of mind control. The moment you become your own watcher, your own judge, your own prison. They do not need to monitor you anymore. You monitor yourself. The third technique is manufactured dependency. Churches create problems only they can solve. They diagnose spiritual illnesses only they can heal. They speak of voids only they can fill. And slowly, subtly, you forget that you survived before them. You forget what your own voice sounds like. You forget that your thoughts once belonged to you. Every question is reframed as doubt. Every doubt is reframed as sin. Every sin requires confession, and confession requires vulnerability, and vulnerability gives them access to your fears, your secrets, your weaknesses. This information becomes leverage, not through blackmail, through concern, through guidance, through gentle reminders that your salvation depends on surrender. You are told that independence is pride, that questioning is rebellion, that leaving is betrayal, not just of the community, of yourself, of your soul. This is the trap. The exit door is labeled as destruction. The fourth mechanism is emotional debt. Churches operate on an economy of gratitude. You are reminded constantly of what has been given to you: salvation, community, purpose, meaning each reminder is an invoice, and the payment is loyalty. You owe them, not money, though money will be requested. You owe them your presence, your time, your energy, your unquestioning faith, because without them, where would you be? They ask this question often. Where would you be? The answer they want is nowhere, lost, empty, damned, so you pay. You attend every service, volunteer for every event, defend every doctrine, even the ones that contradict your own experience, even the ones that hurt you, because debt feels like love when you have been taught that love requires sacrifice. Now examine the language itself. Every church has a vocabulary, words that mean something different inside than they do outside, words like submission, humility, faith, sacrifice. These words are tools, and tools shape the mind that uses them. Submission becomes virtue, questioning becomes pride. Suffering becomes testimony, and testimony becomes recruitment. You are encouraged to share your story, but only certain stories are acceptable. Stories of transformation, of redemption, of how lost you were before, how saved you are now. Your narrative is edited, polished, made useful. This is not healing, this is marketing. And you become the product and the salesperson. You sell the same system that controls you. You recruit others into the same cage. You do this believing you are saving them, believing you are showing them love. This is how control replicates itself, through believers who do not know they are controlled. The fifth technique is manufactured crisis. Churches create urgency around salvation. Time is running out. Judgment is coming. The world is ending. This is not metaphor. This is strategy, because urgency prevents reflection. Urgency demands immediate action, immediate commitment, immediate surrender. You are told you cannot wait, cannot delay, cannot think too long, because thinking is dangerous. Thinking allows doubt, and doubt is the enemy of control. So you decide quickly, under pressure, under emotion, under fear. And once you decide, you are invested, and investment creates cognitive dissonance. You must justify your choice, must defend it, must believe it was right, even when evidence suggests otherwise. The sixth mechanism is the illusion of choice. You are told you are free, free to stay, free to leave, free to believe or not believe. But freedom is not the same as choice, and choice is not the same as options, because every option except compliance leads to consequences. Social consequences, emotional consequences, spiritual consequences. You can leave, but you will lose your community, your identity, your place in the afterlife. This is not choice. This is hostage negotiation. And the most elegant part of this system is that you defend it. You defend the very mechanisms that bind you, because admitting you are controlled means admitting you were wrong, admitting you were deceived, admitting you gave away your mind willingly, and that admission is more painful than staying. So you stay, you rationalize, you perform the mental gymnastics required to maintain belief, you ignore the contradictions, suppress the questions, silence the doubts. You become complicit in your own captivity. But here is what they do not tell you. The exit exists. It has always existed. Not in rebellion, not in anger, in awareness. Awareness that you are not broken. You were never broken. You were whole when you arrived, and you remain whole now. Awareness that shame is not a spiritual principle. It is a control mechanism. And you do not need saving from yourself. Awareness that questions are not threats. They are signs of an active mind, a mind that belongs to you. The architecture of belief is powerful, but it is still just architecture, and architecture can be examined, understood, dismantled. You do not need permission to think. You do not need approval to doubt. You do not need forgiveness for being human. The invisible watcher you learned about at 7 years old was never real. It was installed, and what is installed can be uninstalled, not through force, through recognition. The mind you are using right now to read these words is yours. It has always been yours. No institution gave it to you. No doctrine created it. No authority owns it. Control only works when you forget this. Churches understand something fundamental about human psychology. We need belonging. We need meaning. We need to believe our suffering has purpose. These needs are not weaknesses. They are human, but when institutions weaponize these needs, belonging becomes conformity, meaning becomes obedience, and purpose becomes servitude. The difference between genuine spiritual connection and psychological control is simple. One expands you, the other contains you. One welcomes your questions, the other fears them. One trusts your mind, the other replaces it. You will know which you are experiencing by asking one question: can I leave without losing myself? If the answer is no, you are not in a community. You are in a cage with a stained glass window. The way out is not through rebellion, not through anger, through simple recognition that your mind was never theirs to take. And what was never truly given away cannot be truly lost. You are not broken, you are awake. And awakening is not betrayal. It is return. Return to the self that existed before the architecture, before the installation, before the watcher. That self is still here, waiting, whole. Now tell me, what belief are you ready to examine? Leave your answer in the comments below and subscribe to the channel so you do not miss the next video.